Yes, I'm back and better than ever. This is Steve at the Original Life and Sad Ending channel, and today we're talking about Jim Croce. Jim Croce was born on January 10th, 1943 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His parents were Italian Americans from Sicily. Jim had musical ability and started playing the accordion at age 5 and eventually taught himself to play guitar. Croce went to Upper Darby High School in the Philly suburbs and graduated in 1960. Jim became more interested in music while attending Villanova College. He formed bands and performed at fraternity parties, coffee houses, and other colleges around the area. Croce met his future wife Ingrid in 1963 at a folk music party. He graduated from Villanova University in 1965. Croce married Ingrid Jacobson in 1966 in a Jewish wedding. Croce had converted to Judaism since his wife was Jewish. Jim Croce released his first album, Facets, in 1966 with 500 copies pressed. Jim served in the Army National Guard in New Jersey that same year to avoid being drafted and sent to Vietnam. From the 1960s to the early 70s, Croce performed with his wife as a duo. They mostly performed songs by other artists like Gordon Lightfoot, Arlo Guthrie, and Joan Baez, but eventually began writing their own songs. In 1968, the Croces moved to New York City, where they recorded their first album with Capitol Records. During the next 2 years, they toured the college concert circuit promoting their album, Jim and Ingrid Croce. Not having much success in the music business, they returned to the Pennsylvania countryside, settling in an old farmhouse. Jim played locally for $25 a night, which was not enough money to live on, so he had to take odd jobs such as driving trucks and construction work. He, however, continued to write songs, often about the characters he would meet at the local bars and truck stops. The Croces returned to Philadelphia, and Ingrid discovered she was pregnant. Jim decided to make another serious attempt to make music his profession. He sent a cassette of his new songs to a friend and producer in New York City in the hope that he could get a record deal. When their son was born in September of 1971, Ingrid became a stay-at-home mom while Jim went on the road. In 1972, Croce signed a 3-record contract with ABC Records, releasing 2 albums, You Don't Mess Around with Jim and Life and Times. The singles, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, Operator, and Time in a Bottle all received airplay. And as always, I would have loved to use some of Jim's music in this clip, but they don't allow it because of the copyrights. Oh, but stay tuned. At the very end, we're going to have a special memorial to some of the other greats who died in air crashes. Also that year, the Croce family moved to San Diego, California. Croce began appearing on television, including appearances on American Bandstand, The Tonight Show, and The Dick Cavett Show. Jim again toured the United States, performing on college campuses and at folk festivals. Even with all this success, he wasn't doing well financially. The record company had fronted him the money to record, and much of his earnings went to pay back the advance. In early 1973, Croce began a European tour where he received good reviews. During the summer of that year, Croce made television appearances on The Midnight Special and The Helen Reddy Show. Jim Croce's biggest single, Bad Bad Leroy Brown, reached number 1 on the American charts in July. Sadly, on the night of Thursday, September 20th, 1973, while on tour, Croce and all 5 others on board were killed when their chartered plane crashed into a pecan tree during takeoff from the Natchitoches Regional Airport in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Jim Croce was only 30 years old. An investigation by the NTSB named the probable cause as pilot error. The 57-year-old charter pilot had made a downwind takeoff into a black hole of severe darkness, limiting his use of visual references. Croce was buried at Haym Salomon Memorial Park in Fraser, Pennsylvania. As is often the case, Jim's untimely death brought his greatest success. Most of his big hit records were released posthumously, songs like I Have to Say I Love You in a Song, Time in a Bottle, and You Don't Mess Around with Jim, to name a few. In 1990, Croce was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. You will often still hear his music used in films and TV shows like Django Unchained, X-Men Days of Future Past, and Stranger Things. Yes, I remember very well when Jim unfortunately died in the plane crash. I was only 17 at the time and had often heard his songs on the radio. Stay tuned now, for we're going to have a little memorial to some others who perished in a similar manner. And I'll see you again next time, unless I come to my own sad ending.